Wholeness. Man, I am like most honored to be here today in a position to be able to actually bring some more information to y'all, man, because I feel like, as long as somebody is, you know, participating and actually helping us all as a collective, like it's not really so much about the people that's not participating. A lot of people just ain't participating because they just can't imagine any of these things being true. And it's not just that they can't imagine them not being true. Like, there's a lot of different forces and a lot of different things at work here. And there's so many different things at work that you would never actually believe the types of things that you are actually about to learn and about to come into contact with. But just the very idea of knowing that outside of this little bubble that we created inside of our own reality, and based around this little sheltering feeling that we like to actually stay so comfortable in. But it just lets you know, man, that outside of it all, there's a real world that exists, and there's a world much larger and much grand than what we have actually been taught to believe exist. And we'll never understand how grand or how magnificent this reality actually is as long as we are still subjected to so many of their different mind control implants or their different mind control devices. And when I say so many of the different mind control devices, I mean so far to understand that even money, religion, education, all of these different things are just mind control devices that have been created by beings that have a much more grander effect on the reality at this point than we do. But these beings are not just trying to live the good life or live their best life. These beings are actually more concerned with ruling and reigning over entire planetary systems. But they do this through some of the most technologically advanced methods that some of them would blow your mind, because even the very existence of them haven't yet been introduced into the psyche of us yet. So it'll actually make us start to wonder. And when we start to wonder, we'll start to come into contact with so many of the other things that exist outside of this distraught, perfectly organized reality that we so adamantly try to build for ourselves. And I know that a lot of people won't understand that until they get an understanding of, like I said, what's taking place inside of this system. And today I actually just want to go in, family, and show you some things that, I've been studying, and I know a lot of people have been studying as far as, when you come into this reality, them taking your feet, placing them on this birthing certificate and monetizing it and placing you on a market, and how to actually take back control over that that U.S. Treasury account that's actually been created inside of your name, just in all caps. But anyway, I wanted to actually bring this to you, and I do want to keep it going as far as to say that, man, listen, these things are actually the greatest tools and weapons that we have at our disposal to protect us from these banking corporations. But if you have anything like fear inside of you, I would say that it's best to work on the things that cause the fear, like those things that are still lurking in the back of your subconscious that are causing those fears to exist, versus trying to jump out and just get involved in some of the things that you actually see taking place here today. And again, if you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, and I don't know, you need my assistance, you want to team up, you want to link up, I don't know. This is just what we actually here for, to build a larger neural network of resources for ourselves. So without further ado, family, I just wanted to go ahead and get into this. I want to introduce this video to you. I want you to actually take the opportunity to pay real close attention to some of the things that this queen is actually pushing out there. And I will be actually placing her links. If you want to know, her name is Karen Hudes or Hoods, but I will be placing her link inside of my video also, so you will be able to access or gain access to who she is and get some more videos or some more of her material. So we're going to go ahead and start sharing at this moment.
Program called the Network of Global Corporate Control. And can you scroll on the teleprompter, please? We're having some problems with our teleprompter. I may have to speak extemporaneously. Okay, here we go. Today's program is called The Powers That Were. That's also the title of a 20-page blog that I tweeted yesterday. We'll talk later about what's happening with the group that thought they could dominate us. Thank you to DCTV, and I'd like to give you some background. DCTV is a public access network. When the law for cable TV was passed in 1972, the citizens fought very hard and won the right to allow the public to tell their stories alongside the cable TV companies. Carmen Stanley, project director, Mo Jackson, studio director, and Carmen is also doing audio and teleprompter. They've been helping me to tell my story. I'm going to give you some background information. I used this introduction in the program on February 16th, 2016. My audience has been growing since then. I represent 189 ministers of finance and development on the Board of Governors of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. This is located in Washington, D.C. As a matter of fact, the World Bank is Washington, D.C.'s biggest employer. The World Bank and International Monetary Fund.
So, and see, just so you can see, family, that this lady actually knows what she's talking about, man. She's been doing this for a long time. She's actually worked with some of the most, how would you say, the most elitist banking industries or corporations that's actually out there right now, man. So, she really has a lot of information as far as how this system is set up, how it's actually being ran or run, and whom is actually behind the scenes puppeteering all of this work.
Fund were created in 1944 at the end of World War II. The World Bank and IMF are very special organizations. The World Bank and IMF are also called the Bretton Woods institutions, named for the ski resort in New Hampshire, where 44 nations met and put the ministers of finance in charge of the world's wealth. They kept it secret that that is what they were doing because they intended to bring all of the world's hidden wealth out after 50 years. That is what we're going to do. We're converting the world's paper money to money minted out of the world's hidden gold reserves. The Board of Governors agreed to do this since the 12th of April, 2014. How do the people who rule the world do this? They do it through corporations which don't have to tell you who owns them or who they really are. The Dutch East India Company was established in 1602. It was the second corporation in the world. The first corporation was the British East India Company. The world's corporations are really just one corporation, and they've been creating corporations out of the world's countries and even their governments and their cities and towns. They've even been creating corporations out of the world's people.
So I know, like you probably understood everything that she just said until she got to the part where she said they've even created corporations out of the people. And that's exactly why I want you to actually gain a better understanding of what's going on here. So you can see how when you were born and they done this monetization of your birthing certificate, and we all understand what the birthing certificate is. Well, what they were doing was bringing this Canaanite Phoenician law system, right, which was based on maritime law, docking it on land so that they can actually use this system now to start to monetize, manipulate, and indebt the people. Because also really what it's all is, it's just a debt system. So I'm gonna let her go a little bit further into that for you real fast.
When babies are born, they set up a company and give that company the name of the baby. And then they estimate how much taxes that baby is going to pay over its lifetime. And then they create a bond and float that bond on the world's capital markets and earn money on the bond. In Switzerland in 2011, 3 mathematicians, Vitali, Glattfelder, and Battiston of ETH Zurich, showed the existence of the network of global corporate control. But you see, people are really more than they appear at first blush. We're going to learn who we really are and what we're really capable of doing in the global currency reset. I'm just an ordinary person, but luckily for everyone who's working with me, and that's everybody, I'm extremely stubborn and I'm extremely transparent. That's a nice way of saying that I'm a blabbermouth. I've always been that way. Now we're going to talk about reality. One reason I like to show you what I've said in the past is to establish accountability for who knew what when. Yes, the public is accountable for knowing about the corruption I've been exposing on DCTV. The last segment was called Red Pill for that very reason. I'm going to remind you that people who take a red pill embrace the sometimes painful truth of reality. I've been telling you for some time that we're all in a reality that's different from what you've been hearing in the press and learning about in the universities. This difference comes from the fact that the one corporation owns the news outlets and uses the tenure system to prevent universities from teaching the truth.
And see, that's what I be trying to actually explain too, man, that you got to understand that the same people who control or run your banking system, and I don't want to go all the way into the history of this entire banking system, how, this extraterrestrial involvement of how it actually gets from star system to star system or planet to planet. So I just want to stay, inside of the reins of just being able to gain a better understanding of the type of people that we're actually dealing with. Like, these are the same people that run and control your religions. These are the same people that run and control your education system. They run and control your hospitals and just everything, your news outlets. Like, they control everything. So just understand the types of flows of information that have been stricken from record, that have been erased or placed as either demonic or obsolete and snatched from the history books and replaced with not just half truths, but complete fabrications, stories that actually have no existence at all. So I just want to bring this to you, man, so you guys can see that this is just how serious it is. And it's like everybody just so adamant and thirsty about being the one to bring some type of information and being jealous of other people and not wanting to support each other. And it's like, we got to stop this. Like, we got to learn to put our pride to the side, do the best that we can, and embrace each other. Because inside of that complete space, everyone every one of us would be able to actually accompany and assist the next. So it's like all of my connections and uniqueness will become your connections and uniqueness because we become a unified field, a unified consciousness. You see what I mean? We start working in like a symbiosis. And that's what we actually have to get back into, man. Like these are the same people that strategize and create ways to lock you inside of their systems so that they create different strategical plans like the welfare system and the different things. It's like, man, you got to understand the type of games that we playing. Like these are the same people that teach you throughout their religious structures that, you know, it's all about peace while convincing you that war for a particular or specific reason is okay. Like these are double-headed standards that literally lock the human being inside of these stasis or these paralysis so that these people can use what we would consider as technology, but elf waves, right? Extremely low frequencies to not only hack, but to control the biological or the bioneurological functions of the human brain. So like we got to understand that, man, these people ain't just presenting this stuff to us in a form of technology for nothing. No, all of the stuff that they're proposed to us, it all has a hidden agenda. They wouldn't present it to us if it didn't. They would use anything and everything as another outlet or a way to place their abilities to peek or spy into your reality inside of, I mean, like anything, your TVs, your phones, your microwaves, your washer and dryers. Like, I promise, pretty soon, even your ink pens, cups, and stuff like that gonna have cameras and microphones and stuff inside of them. But if we're not paying attention to it and ignoring all of it right up until the time that it's just too late to do anything about it, then what is the point in actually being concerned? We need to not only be concerned, but come together. We can live our everyday lives, finish completing all of the things that we are doing, and still work together to build a harmonic reality.
One corporation also bribes or threatens the politicians and tries to hide its influence. That system has broken down largely because of the wealth of the world that was set aside in the Bretton Woods institutions at the end of World War II. As a whistleblower from the World Bank, I've been working to fight this corruption for a very long time, and I'm working with the world's military powers who are depending on the world's wealth. I want to show you why Christine Lagarde is now bankrupt under a lien that I placed on her assets in Chicago. I also put a lien on Barack Obama's house.
Hey, listen, I'm going to replay that because I want you to understand that this lady is not playing, man. If you understand anything about UCC, which is Uniform Commercial Code, then you don't go up into these people's courthouses, man. When you go up into these people's courthouses, that's just letting them know that you are ignorant of what you're really talking about or doing. And then you place yourself under their jurisdiction. You see what I mean? Like, you have to learn how to operate and function in your privatized status as the executor of your private estate. The word estate and the word state is the exact same word. Just take the E off. So again, family, I promise, man, like together, man, we can do this. We just got to stop being combative towards each other and start being more welcoming of each other and start like not judging each other and ridiculing each other, because this is what creates friction between us all. Like no matter what, once we start feuding and fighting and beefing and bickering with each other, it's almost close to impossible to bring us all back together again inside of the same space to where we would feel comfortable enough to let our guards down around each other. And they know this. This is the ways that they use, or the schemes that they use to manipulate the mind. We're a lot more smarter than that, man. I promise we're a lot more smarter than that. It's just that right now, I think we're just a little bit more caught up with trying to make it out of an oppressive state or a situation that we don't understand the way that we're using or choosing to do it. You see what I mean? So like, let's just get it, baby. It's us. Come on, man. I want y'all to check her out, man. Give this queen a chance. Pay attention to her, because she can also help you with gaining a better understanding with how these processes work. When you get these traffic tickets and you get behind, like people in these student debts and credit card debts, and I'm telling you, like, learn this stuff so that you're not a victim to this stuff, that you're not caught up inside of this fictitious illusion of a system, and you know how to take yourself out of it and function above it. You see what I mean? So like I say, man, we're going to get a little bit more deeper into this so that we can all understand this together.
And I put a lien on the assets of the Secretary of State of Illinois. This is the envelope that Jesse White, military powers who are depending on the world's wealth. I want to show you why Christine Lagarde is now bankrupt under a lien that I placed on her assets in Chicago. I also put a lien on Barack Obama's house, and I put a lien on the assets of the Secretary of State of Illinois. This is the envelope that Jesse White, the Secretary of State of Illinois, used.
Hey, now I know for a fact, y'all remember just not long ago, matter of fact, it might have been like about a year ago or so, I remember seeing something on the news. Might have been a couple of years ago, but yeah, I ain't sure. It might have been a couple of years ago. Yeah, I remember seeing something on the news about that house that they supposedly saying Barack Obama owned from the south side of Chicago. It was a lot of stuff involved at that house. You could probably look it up and see. But like I say, see, everything that they push out to you or in front of you on the news don't always be necessarily what the reality of what's taking place is. Sometimes they'll take these stories, and because it is a juicy story and they are controlling the flow of your consciousness with the type of information that they're pushing out there to you or distributing to you, they'll take these stories and they'll just dress them up, push them out there just for entertainment's sake, just to keep your mind attentive or focused on something other than the reality of what's taking place. So whatever it was that they pushed on the news was all the way totally false. And this sister has information proving that she was the reason that all of this took place.
To mail me a letter threatening to throw me in jail if I didn't remove the lien on his and Christine Lagarde's and Barack Obama's assets. I posted the letter from the Secretary of State of Illinois on the internet, and now I'm going to read you from his letter to me. Please be advised that Section 9501.1 of the UCC provides for both criminal and civil sanctions for communicating false records to the filing office. You are hereby directed to cease and desist from submitting non-conforming UCC documents with the Office of the Illinois Secretary of State. Continued attempts to file these documents will result in referral to the appropriate law enforcement personnel for prosecution. Jesse White, the commercial liens on your and Christine Lagarde's and Barack Obama's assets are valid. What's more, the lien that I placed on the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago is also valid. All of the countries of the world told Jesse White that he had no business trying to invalidate that lien. I have linked the letter where I told Jesse White this when I cleared that letter with all of the countries of the world. I cleared this letter with the countries of the world when I offered to mint currencies from the world's monetary gold reserves in a global currency reset. The Board of Governors informed.
See, and what she explained it to you is because whether you know it or not, man, the law, what we call like these compiled statutes, this statutory law, this all belongs to the Corrections Corporation of America. right? This industrial complex of America. Now, there's a few different, corporations that are actually functioning here, but it just, that's what they apply to. They don't actually apply to you unless you are ignorant of the fact that you are technically not part of that corporate existence. And I remember a law, Louisiana passed, it was a 1923 law stating that corporate existence is presumed unless affidavit of denial was filed before trial, meaning that all the way up until trial, a person is automatically presumed to be a corporate entity unless they file affidavit of denial. And how they do this to you is this account right here, when they bring you into their jurisdiction, the judge, what he does is the judge, he takes literal control of the account, walks you through this entire process, right? Now, this account is your name in all caps. And then as he walks you through this entire process, right before you take any sentence, plead, any agreement, anything, he hands it back to you to take into the rest of the finalization of that process. And that leads to you actually being the one to go to jail or take the fine, but it's like, trust me, the judge is participating in the scheme too. And hey, listen, I promise, like, that shit's over. Excuse my language, but it's over. And now it's time for us actually to come out to gain an understanding of how we have not only been manipulated into a system that never had our best interest at heart, but we have been hijacked as human beings and placed into the jurisdiction of chattel.
From the Secretary of State for Illinois that Jesse White had no standing to question the board's decision that the Fed will be required to offset country debt with the debt that the Fed owes on its Treaty of Versailles bonds. The Fed, together with other private central banks, is bankrupt. The Board of Governors is avoiding an otherwise certain currency war by deploying the gold in the global debt facility for currencies issued by each of the countries. Legal tender laws are going to be rescinded so that local currencies in villages can create full employment and fuel growth. What's been happening since March?
And you know something else? That's a good thing that she actually said that, because see, like I said, that's the reason that they have this debt system set up the way that it does. Because no matter what you actually purchase or you pay for, you try to actually establish for yourself inside of the reality. For the majority, there's always these long-term fixed income rates that that come along with it. Like just think of trying to own a house. You'll spend the next 30, 40 years of your life trying to buy a house or paying for that house, saying that you own that house because you feel like you own that house, but still don't own that house. Meaning that until you pay the bank the money that they loaned you, that they gave, or not even money, they gave them a piece of paper. But until you pay in fiat currency, right, from your own energy, your own strength, your own sweat, your own blood, your own tears, what they never gave you in the first place, that house, nor paperwork to confirm your claim will ever be given to you.
March 2015, when Jesse White illegally removed the lien on the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, the Fed moved to Chicago. Jesse White refused to answer the complaint about his illegal removal of the lien on the Fed, and on September 20th, 2015, the Global Debt Facility placed a commercial lien on Jesse White's property. That's what he's been trying to remove. You can find out what else has been happening by reviewing the archives for this DCTV series. I upload them in YouTube. I also provide frequent updates in my other social media. And there was another failed attempt to steal the world's assets. We're now going to talk about the group that thought they could dominate us. We've been devoting this series on the network of global corporate control to this group. The network of global corporate control is directed by the black nobility descended from the pharaonic bloodline families. This group has met their match.
Hey, and it's cold, like she just said that, from the pharaonic bloodline family. Because I read this book, it's called Egypt Before the Pharaohs. I actually have it, I haven't complete the book. I just uploaded it, but it's a great book because I know the story of it actually. Was kind of aware of the story of it before I even got the book, and which was the reason I actually wanted to take a look at the book. But it just goes to show you that, man, listen, and this is the reason I tell a lot of people that, you know, like, we can stop arguing with these people about all of these fictitious things that they claim that history is written over here for this and history is written about that. Whether you know it or not, the Egyptians were not the original Kemetans, right? Now, it is Kemet. It was their land, but Kemet was invaded. You can go into the Emerald tablets, right? The Sumerian clay tablets, and you can actually see where this takes place at. Even, you know, what is the being Thoth says that, you know, I guess in one form, fashion, or another, he was given the decree to, and this was by his father, Enki, to go on to the hairy barbarian ones of Kemet. And when he came unto the Kemetans, that, you know, obviously the Kemetans, you know, you see this foreigner pulling up on your land. They came after him with, you know, I guess they spears, that, you know, whatever they was working with as weapons. And he stated something that he silenced them with his magic rod or something. His, you know, his, basically what he was trying to show you is, you know, he had a weapon, some type of, not a gun, but like an electronic device, like something that, you know, something like a gun, but not shooting bullets or something that shoots some type of energies or frequencies or something like that. So basically that's what it, you know what I'm saying, what it was when they actually went into Kemet and actually conquered it. And what you're getting from all of the different pharaohs from the pharaonic bloodline, this is an actual invasion or a colonization from a species that has always existed on this planet. Some beings have lived inside of this planet longer than beings lived on this planet. You see what I'm saying? So we have to understand that these people have taught us to understand the reality or cope with it or interface with it from a more mundane and blind-sided point of view, leaving majority of the information to the wanderer. And if the information is not there or has been placed inside of a category labeled as evil or something like that, then there's not much really left for the wanderer to put inside of the position of what's actually necessary to go there so that they can create or develop a full picture of what's happening inside of the reality that we're living in. So I really just want y'all to understand that, man. And you see, and before I do keep going, I do want to say, and this is just for my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, that when the Hyksos people were ran out of Egypt, they came back as the Hebrew Israelites, basically just to remarry inside of the royal bloodline again. Like, that was really all it was about. Like, you have to understand that most of the information that we're using or that these people are giving us is false. Like, you have to understand that while Kemet was a thriving civilization, so was the Americas, or the entire land or region that was considered to be connected to this land that mysteriously disappeared from off of all of the records called Tartaria. So everybody, all of your professors, your historical professors and all of this, they're wrong. They've taken information that have been fabricated and given to them and have become masters at orchestrating within the parameters of lies. So just understand that we have been chasing and admiring after so many of these fictitious and false stories for so long because everybody has had inside of their heart or their mind this desire to want to be the master race, or this desire to want to be the first race to ever exist, when in fact neither of these races were ever to be the first ones to actually exist, because the first beings to exist here were not from this star system. What you would consider as these different multitudes of races, and why you see that there is a conglomerate or a kaleidoscope of different races here, is because many of us, or many beings, were brought here from other star systems and hybridized, or hybridized, right? Just by whatever you call it, intermarrying, or having sex with each other or whatever. But you understand what I mean. But, and this is just what actually took place. So when we gain a better understanding of it, and we put some of these illusions behind, then, man, we'll really see the reality for what it is. Now, it can be scary to you because you're not inside of the ship. Now, life becomes scary to you when you see what's behind the veil and you refuse to take control of the ship. That's the only time it gets scary to you, because it actually becomes more of an adventure. It becomes more fun, more of a mystery to you once you take control of the ship and use all of your sensory modalities to just become one, to work in unison with the universe, with the planetary body, right? So yeah, let's get it. Let's get a little bit further into this, man. It's knowledge upon top of knowledge, I promise.
The fact that you don't hear much about these developments is because these crooks try to remain hidden. Their efforts to hide aren't working for them. Every time they break one of the links to the documents I post, this shows what it is that they're trying to hide. Let's talk about Christine Lagarde. Christine Lagarde tried to steal the world's assets that were deposited in the global debt facility in the Bretton Woods institutions at the end of World War II. All of the powers of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund are in the Board of Governors. Christine Lagarde attended the signing ceremony for a galactic agreement on January 24, 2016 that had not been authorized by the Board of Governors, and she was therefore fired. She was fired as managing director of the IMF because she exceeded her authority. Yesterday, I posted the blog where I had invalidated the Galactic Agreement. The blog is at the end of the teleprompter. In that blog, the link to the article on the Galactic Agreement was cut. That's not a problem. You can hear about Christine Lagarde and the Galactic Agreement from this recording, and there's an outro.
Pope Francis signed off on what is being called a binding galactic agreement this past Sunday inside the walls of the Vatican, witnessed by Christine Lagarde and legal counsel of the IMF. Former USA Incorporated President Barack Obama will soon be revealed as a Rome CIA operative, and publicly be made to relinquish presidential status, and be amnestied to a foreign country, Dubai. It is rumored, privately, Obama's resignation has already occurred and he's just awaiting a public dismissal announcement. Also, the United States Congress, including all members of the Senate, and
that caused her to be fired. The banking cartel tries to intimidate me. One Twitter account named Mountain Lover 90 asked if I'm really going after them, meaning if I'm going after the banking cartel, I suppose. And if I'm doing this, why I and my family are still alive. I just noticed that the link to my response was broken. So I'm giving you my response now, and I'll give you another link in the teleprompter. As for Mountain Lover's argument that the banking cartel can kill anyone they choose to, we have already, I hope, learned that the banking cartel is not in charge of reality, and that they don't own the world's wealth. The banking cartel is bankrupt, and is getting wound down in the global debt facility. Christine Lagarde, Jesse White, and Barack Obama, who thought they were
CA. And for a lot of people that didn't really realize, like, why did America go after El Chapo like that? A lot of people just don't get that. First and foremost, El Chapo works for Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett owns the patent to cocaine. Now, they found literal, like 10 tons of cocaine inside of the tombs a couple of different pharaohs. I'm not going to get too deep into it, just to show you, though, that, you know, there was already transatlantic trade before, because what you call the Atlantic Sea right now, before they stole and hid history, it was called the Tartarian Sea. So there was no such thing as the Atlantic Sea or the Atlantean, whatever it is. It was called Tartaria Sea, the Sea of Tartary.
going to stay protected, we've already seen are scrambling. There's going to be a lot more of that before we're done. The question often comes up why we're not making faster progress. I like the response from some of the people in my social media to this question. They wanted...
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. The reason that I brought that up, though, was to show you that when you saw the battle or the beef going on between, with El Chapo going to jail and stuff like this, this was a beef between the drug cartel and the banking cartel, which the drug cartel was funded by the banking cartel. You see what I mean? But El Chapo had got to a point to where he wasn't listening no more. He wasn't, just put it like this, man, he wasn't really trying to be too controlled like that anymore. He was already worth billions, but he didn't understand the extremity of the system or the sophistication of how it works. And that is the reason why El Chapo just couldn't get past a lot of the things that was actually inside of his way, because he don't understand the sophistication of the type of technology that this government is working with, or should I say these secret societies.
To know what the person who's asking why it's taking so long is doing themselves to help us move things along. This is a very good response because we're all in this together. At the end of this segment, I'm going to talk about what people can do. Now I want to talk about communications. As some of the avenues for communication break down, others open up. What's breaking down? I used to be able to contact my followers directly with my updates. Now my followers must check for themselves to follow developments. I used to be able to post on Internet Archive, and now I can't. What's opening up? My contact with the Coalition for the Rule of Law, as I call us. The coalition consists of the world's military powers and anyone else who wants to join us. For example, last week, someone from the coalition put the business card for Malawi's Minister of Finance, His Excellency Goodall Gondwe, on my desk. And let me show you. This is the card. I used to have his card because I met with him in 2015, but all of my business cards were stolen from my home office a couple of years ago. So this card, I don't know who gave it to me. But I was able to call and mail His Excellency Gondwe after discovering his card. And I reported this contact last week and I tweeted it. I said in my tweet, eventually all of the member countries of the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund are going to conclude monetary agreements with the global debt facility. And also non-member countries such as Taiwan and North Korea. The rest of the coalition are in contact with the network of global corporate control, whether or not they're aware that they're under surveillance. The network of global corporate control's capacity to monitor us is breaking down as more and more of us become aware and start to resist. I like to track my progress in becoming aware of the degree of corruption and what I've referred to as state capture. When I post old documents, I try to help people see how my level of awareness has progressed. It's actually a lot more corrupt than I thought in the beginning. We're now in a reality where we control the world's wealth. There's nothing that the banking cartel can do to regain the world's wealth. The real challenge now is for those of us who know what reality is to keep people who are still duped by the banking cartel from destabilizing things. And I'm going to tell you what you can do to help in the global currency reset. You have to be aware of what's going on around you and develop your critical thinking skills. You should join a group of relatives and friends.
I want y'all to really, really, really pay attention to what this queen is actually finna say, because I do want to enter, I want to add something to it, like when she done, but I want you to understand what she's saying first, because it's finna be really epic, but I don't want you to like hurt her. I don't want you to miss what she finna say.
Who know you and can help you figure out when you're acting out of character. And you should also work on local currencies. Now, let's see how much more time I have. We're actually making quite good progress because some of the friends that used to be very subjected to mind control, and I've known them for years, are now suddenly able to see what I've been telling them.
Yeah, like she said, mind control. You would never understand the type of different mind control techniques that these people are able to use. Like I said, man, they're using elf waves, radio waves, frequencies, signals, electronics. These are literal ways that they hack into your consciousness. Whether you know it or not, your consciousness is nothing but a radio wave. It's electromagnetic waves, frequencies, oscillations, vibrations. Like, you have to pay attention to understand, because these people know what they don't teach you. And a lot of the things that they have, like these different implants and things, like I say, man, they implant a lot of the children when they come up out the womb. A lot of different nanotechnology now is capable of restructuring and redesigning the biology, and you know what I'm saying, uploading and how, or being able to break down the imagination to a point, or catch the frequency, or catch that your brain inside of a frequency to where they can not only just holographically insert thoughts, but control the literal pattern of how you think. And all they have to do is, once they send a certain type of a frequency and your consciousness picks it up, that's the beginning of it. Like, for instance, you see how when a movie comes on, they always have that sad music when it's a sad scene. They got that happy music when it's a happy scene, that scary music when it's a scary scene. But each scene has this specific type of music that matches it. And if you learn to understand why it's like that, then you will be able to see too that all of it just corresponds, or it ties in together. It's all tied into these people being able to control the flow of your energy and the direction of your mind.
And many of the members of my family, likewise, they're now opening up. I think this is because as more and more people become aware, there are just so many people at the disposal of the banking cartel, and they have to work this very sophisticated mind control machinery. Well, they can't train it on everybody all the time, and they like to figure out who are the people that are the most aware and try to attack them with their technology. So I've noticed also, it's been many times, it's been rather difficult for me to post things. I'll start writing something and then I'll get distracted, or something I think that the banking cartel has done will distract me, or something will disappear from my screen, because in my PC, I've got at least 17 people hacking me. I once had somebody check things out.
Which is the reason why, and I just want to say too, also, which is it has to be understood that, man, family, we have to keep our vibration high. Like, they can only get into our auric field or hack into our energetic field or our consciousness if our vibration is low. So that means it's like, and don't get it wrong, it's easier said than done, but being more consciously aware of the type of things that you entertain, the type of conversations, the type of thoughts or ideals, the type of people, the type of energies that you invite into your space. Like, you have to be conscious of all these different things so that these things are not invading your auric field and breaking down your consciousness, allowing you to be hacked into. You have a biological neural network that they use artificial intelligence, which is an artificial neural network, to hack into your biological network. And this artificial network updates itself because it actually learns to replicate or design or fashion its awareness behind mimicking, or should I say replicating the biological neural network. You see what I mean? It's like upload, download, upload, download. But because we don't know these things are taking place, we become victims. All right, I'm gonna keep it going. I just love my, hey man, I love y'all, John. I just want to see everybody break free, bro. I want us all to be free.
But in any event, I'm now able to work a lot more concentrated. And one of the things I've told you, one of the ways that you can do to strengthen your concentration capacity is music. And just this past weekend, I was in a concert, and one of my old friends, she was attacked by mind control right in the middle of the concert. Things that she had done perfectly a couple of weeks before were difficult for her. That's what happens when you get into a group of friends. They notice when you're acting out of character, and they can help you signal these things. It's very important. Also, when people are working together in a group, then the ones that are deciding who is a targeted individual, they don't like to work with people in groups. So they're going to.
And I want to say the reason that it's actually easy for them to get you like that, man, is because when you functioning out of your lower mind, right, which is your lower three chakras, your root chakra, your sacral, and your solar, right, those lower three minds that make up your ego, your lower ego, it's easy for them to hack into those chakras. It's easy for them to manipulate those chakras. You see what I'm saying? So if your consciousness is actually trapped inside of that lower space, then your consciousness is being manipulated right along with the frequencies of those chakras. That's the reason it's actually imperative for us to learn this stuff and help each other out, man. Stop abusing each other, man. Stop misusing each other. And, you know, you got a sector of people that, you know, they think that shit cool. Let them go into one space. Let the people that think using and abusing people and each other to get somewhere go into like this one space that they can use and abuse each other.
I'm going to probably skip over you. That's one of the things that you can do. But the most important thing is to develop your critical thinking skills. And this is easier said than done. What is critical thinking skills? It's your ability to think logically. And that's also one of the reasons that we're not making faster progress in taking down the banking cartel. But the fact is, we're making a lot of progress. And one of the things that I'm going to be talking about next week, I might as well mention right now, there are offers that the banking cartel is making to people who sign up that they will receive a monthly income. Now, why do you suppose the banking cartel is making these offers? It's because there are a lot of people that are becoming aware, and they're trying to keep that from growing. Now, I wouldn't recommend that you take that offer. It's just like the Treasury Direct accounts that were on offer before. You can't trust the banking cartel to deliver anything. And just imagine, this is something like critical thinking skills. Think forward what this would mean if we don't have a global currency reset. The chances are if we don't have a global currency reset, that there's going to be World War III. And
that is like one of the most important things here. Why is it imperative for us to have a global currency reset? It is absolutely imperative because this is for the same reason why you see America being used, or NATO being used by the Jesuits, right, to invade all of these other countries. Like, why do you think they're overthrowing these governments like Gaddafi and, like trying to get Syria off, like North Korea, Venezuela, like all of these different countries? Because these countries do not accept their banking system. So they use the American army, right, to go up into these countries, invade them and overthrow their governments and plant somebody else inside of that system that would further or execute their agenda. Someone that can be controlled. Most times a person that's already microchipped and cloned. Like Minister Farrakhan. Yeah. Just saying.
And the reason that I know this is because of the military's, it's called a power transition model. I was in touch with the political scientist who developed this model for the Department of Defense. I actually went to Ghana with him, and we modeled one of the laws that the Ghanaians were supposed to pass. That was in a loan agreement. I used to be the country lawyer for Ghana. I was also the country lawyer for Nigeria. I was the country lawyer for Yemen. And I was the country lawyer for the Philippines. That was where I really learned a lot. It was Ibrahim Shihada, who was the general counsel of the World Bank at the time, who was reassigning me. And one of the reasons that I was being reassigned was because I kept discovering corruption in all the countries, and they didn't want me to continue to work on countries when I discovered corruption, so they would reassign me. One of the few times I ever went to ask Ibrahim Shihada for a favor was when I was reassigned from the Middle East to the Philippines. I didn't understand that the Philippines had a very major role in the global debt facility. I think that may also have been one of the reasons that I was being assigned to the Philippines. But what happened when I was assigned to the Philippines was I was involved in a banking project, and I discovered corruption there, and the bank ended up failing, and people withdrew their deposits from that bank. And of course, the man who owned the bank was corrupt, and when he started buying employee shares.
See, man, and it just lets you know how much more power over these corporations and over these banks we got, and we don't realize it. All you got to do is hold your money. Like, we're afraid to not spend money. We're afraid to hold on to some money because every day we trying to prove to somebody else that we got it, but that we, I don't know. It's just we got to do better, man. Together, we got to. There was a time that we worked together, but then the people who are monetizing and colonizing the planet at this time came in using their MK Ultra strategics to knock that down, to divide us, because together we were able to stand and build something. But once they divided us, they took all of that away from us. We became slaves and subjects because now we were only able to work for them. We were only able to execute our full conviction only so far as they saw was fit. And we only have access to the education that they give us to use as a way to exercise our fullest conviction. That's a slave created. We're better than that. And I know a lot of people still need a lot of work. But together right now, man, this is where we start coming together. This is where we start unifying and building. This is where we come together and start doing what they done to put us in this position, but to get ourselves out of it. Let's get rid of this monetary system that they got us slaves under, man. We got to come together. We brothers and sisters. If we can't depend on each other, then we don't have nobody. If we can't count on each other, then we don't have anybody else to count on. All we have is us. So together we can actually do this. We have to do this for the sake of our children, for the sake of our future selves that will have to exist inside of these parallel realities on different timelines. Okay?
That meant that our conditions for the loan were not going to be met. And I went to the decision meeting where we were supposed to decide whether or not to disperse that loan. By that time, I had been reassigned to Africa, but I went to the decision meeting anyway. And I said, no, you haven't satisfied the conditions. And I was pretty vocal, and I said I was going to tell the Board of Executive Directors that they were dispersing loans when the conditions hadn't been met. And so they didn't disperse the loan. They had to cancel the loan. And that was when the bank failed. And it failed. The government had to bail out the bank for $500 million. So when the World Bank evaluated that project, they said, oh, well, it was actually satisfactory on balance because nobody, the World Bank, couldn't have predicted what was going to go wrong. And so I wrote a memo saying, well, of course we could have predicted what was going to go wrong because the whole place was corrupt. And I warned people about it. And therefore, when I was reassigned, that showed that we really hadn't performed satisfactorily at all. There was $900 million worth of poor loan performance. That's not a satisfactory project. And when the report to the executive directors was not corrected, that was a cover-up in the bank. You can't have a cover-up in a bank because that means that the money's going the wrong way. So I went and first I tried to get people to correct this. And then when it wasn't corrected, I went to the U.S. Congress, and Senator Lugar kept asking questions, and he ultimately asked for a GAO inquiry into the lack of accountability at the World Bank and said that he wasn't going to disperse any money until whistleblowers were not retaliated against. And of course, I was a poster child.
And see, they use that word conspiracy theorists or whistleblower to make it seem like people are traitors to the country, when in reality, that's not the country. The country is America. The United States is the corporation that's functioning inside of the country. And these whistleblowers are people that are ordinary people like me and you that come into the information and start to be able to see how the trick is being played on the rest of the people. And then they come out and with all of the information they have and start to show the people. So then they take these people and label them conspiracy theorists or whistleblowers, so that the people they're trying to wake up in a way aware of the things that are taking place will look at them differently, or as if they're strange, or as if what they're saying is irrelevant or not important, because it actually is the most important. That's the reason they'll go through so much, through the greatest lengths and highest scales, to try to prove you to or inadequate or to discredit you.
For that. So this is a rather long digression, but in making all of this commotion, that was when I started to get wind of the fact that there was a lot of corruption going on in the World Bank. And so when the Department of Defense came to me with this power transition model that I tested in Ghana, that was when I realized that we were supposed to win. That was what the model was showing, that if we just kept working on the problem, we were going to win. And I was expecting for the corruption in the World Bank to resolve itself. And it turned out that it wasn't just the corruption at the World Bank. It was actually world corruption. But in making such a commotion at the World Bank.
See, it's not just the World Bank, it's the whole world. And this is the reason we sit back and allow our government to invade these people's country, man. Like they'll come and lie to us on the news with some fictitious story they made up as justification to get us to side with them so that they can go and invade these people's country. And then we sit here and start talking about who deserve or who don't deserve to be here, or who don't deserve the right to be free, or who don't deserve the right to just live life without having someone else overexerting themselves into these people's reality, or trying to make decisions for these people that are new. Like, just imagine you have a foreign government coming into your home and telling you how you're going to conform now, to transfer your entire lifestyle or cultural system to one of their own. And the one of their own is what you have been raised or taught to believe as unclean or unnatural. Like, it's just, you have to understand, like, outside of saying that people are right or people are wrong, or judging people as evil, or understanding that we, have different belief systems, you still have to separate yourself from all of that to make a more conscious and logic decision, to see that we still use unjust causes and reasons to inflict or enforce some of the most unnatural and unjustifiable pain onto people.
And I would go and complain to all the executive directors, and that's how they got to know me. And they figured, well, this is the lady who, she's a pretty tough character, and let's give her a role with the world's wealth. And I got to know the board very well. They got to know me very well, and I just kept on going, and I've never stopped. And the problem, as you see, has snowballed. And because I know about this power transition model, which is 90 to 95% accurate, well, we're poised to win. So you really shouldn't accept any offers from the banking cartel, because they're going to lose. The chances that they lose are 95%. And this power transition model has been tested in the Department of Defense. What I'm going to be talking about next week are some of the letters, and I'm going to post them, some of the letters that I have with the Department of Defense and with the people that were developing that model for the Department of Defense. So, in summary, our chances of winning are brilliant, and you wouldn't want to choose a losing side, especially when the people that are offering you something are not trustworthy. They're not going to give you what you want because they don't have the world's wealth. We do. It's at the World Bank. It was deposited in the World Bank. Jesse White, the Secretary of State of Illinois, is bankrupt, and so is Barack Obama and Christine Lagarde. I've disclosed Jesse White's hollow threats. The Minister of Finance in Malawi can lead his country in negotiating their monetary agreement to enable the people in Malawi to exchange corrupt paper currency in the global currency reset. Until next week, I'm your host, Karen Udis.
Yeah, man, I want to, let y'all go ahead and get, like our link, man. I'm going to place it at the bottom of my video so that you can go ahead and check out some more of her work. I do actually want to introduce to you another one real fast. I'm not going to play it all. I just want to go ahead and give you a little bit of it so we can see what's going on here.
Karen worked in the Import-Export Bank in the United States from 1980 to 1985 and in the legal department of the World Bank as a legal counsel from 1986 to 2007. She's a Yale Law School graduate. In 1999, Karen reported on the corrupt takeover of the Philippines National Bank. earning herself a reprimand and eventually the sack. She's been exposed to integrity and due process failures of major institutions such as the US General Accountability Office, or GAO, in examining her claims against the World Bank. Karen went on to establish a number of oversight committees under the auspices of the American Bar Association and the US branch of the International Law Association. She's teamed up with other whistleblowers to compare notes on such issues as insider trading and inaccurate financial reporting. Because of her wide-ranging contacts, Karen has much to divulge about what's going on behind the scenes with elite factions, hidden power structures and global puppet masters. Today she'll be spilling the beans on what she's learned on the global currency wars, the real power behind the Vatican, what's happened to those missing stashes of gold, is there a secret parallel humanoid race, and the agenda to control or enslave humanity or not. Her intention is to expose the corruption which dominates our world and to make sure.
Yes, if you want to know further or more about this secret race, you can actually go into my video. The proof is the truth. No, I'm sorry. The truth is the proof in the pudding, right? And you can see that I also uploaded not just images, but a lot of other information as far as to who this race is, where they are, where they come from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay?
That we wise up to it. Please give her a big warm Nexus Conference welcome, Karen Hooties.
Thank you very much, Duncan. I can't tell you how happy I am to be here. There have been so many years that as a whistleblower, you try to find your audience and you're chasing them. And here you are. So it's a real celebration and it's a privilege. And I have to tell you that I've been on a very steep learning curve, but it's gotten very steep today too, Duncan. Thank you so much for this Nexus conference. I just wanted to start out, first of all, by saying that you see my website URL. There's a contact page. And if you have any questions, please ask them. And I deal in documentation. If there's something that I say and I can't back it up, and it turns out that it's wrong, I'll retract it, because my intention is to get to the bottom of whatever it is that's keeping us in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I can tell you, one of the criticisms that I take the deepest to heart is that I'm leading people into a false sense of security, that humanity is about to be wiped off the face of the earth. And I'm telling everybody that it's exactly the opposite. We're about to come into our inheritance. But it's not going to be automatic. I'm holding all of you in this audience accountable for getting your government to get you your gold. So let's go to the first slide. That's your gold. It's 1,750,000 metric tons. Where is it? First of all, it's in a special trust account that was set up by Ferdinand Marcos. He was doing this as a young lawyer for Jose Rizal, who had been in the Vatican for many years. Jose Rizal was the son of Prince Tolano, who was a twin of Queen Victoria. And the royals have kept the world's gold for themselves, and then it was stolen from them by the banks. And what happened is Prince Jose Rizal didn't like what he saw at the Vatican, and so he came back to the Philippines with the Vatican's gold. The Vatican sent the gold to the Philippines for safekeeping, and what Jose Rizal did was he locked that gold up in a trust account for 50 years. And the thing about a trust account for 50 years is if you say you own something and you haven't managed to get control of it, after 50 years, you've lost it under something called the statute of limitations. So that gold went into hiding for 50 years, and those 50 years ended in 2005. But we didn't manage to get our gold out. And the reason why is because the banks refused. The man who's the authorized signature authority, and you'll see a little clip of him, that's Wolfgang Struck. He kept writing to the banks and saying, I have the right to withdraw the money. I have the right to find out how much money it is now because it's been accruing interest. And the banks wouldn't give him the time of day. And when I started flailing around, which is what I actually did for a number of years after I was fired by the World Bank, he found me. He said, the two of us can get the job done, and that's exactly what we're doing. And who are we teaming up with? We're teaming up with all the countries of the world, the BRICS countries. And one of the people that's helping us is Putin. I've been on Russia television today 3 times. Yeah? So you're starting to get the picture, right? And, you know, Germany just announced that it was going to the BRICS. You know, the day that they announced that, that was the day that I wrote a press release for a 24-hour embargo. And during that 24-hour period, that is when Germany said that they were going to join the BRICS. So what you actually have is you have all of the countries of the world that are all on the same page. And the reason I went to Japan is because there's something called the Status of Forces Agreement. The United States military is actually occupying Japan, and there's a committee that is supposed to take charge if there's going to be an emergency. And I wrote a press release to that joint committee, and I said that joint committee is getting its gold. And that meant that the U.S. military was able to do an end run around the Vatican's shills that are sitting at the top of the Defense Department. So the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Martin Dempsey, he was there to be a traitor and to make sure that the United States dollar crashed. Now, it's not actually the United States dollar, it's the Federal Reserve note. There's quite a distinction. And Dempsey had a town hall meeting in December, the 2nd of December, and I asked him, I said, if your job is to keep the United States defended, why would you allow the Federal Reserve note to crash? He didn't answer that question. So I asked him the same question in March, but then I said, and besides which, you didn't answer my question back in December. Well, he didn't bother to answer the question, but it was pretty clear that he's there to make sure that the military in the United States was going to end up unilaterally surrendering when the Federal Reserve note crashed. Were they happy about this? Absolutely not. And there was another thing that they were absolutely apoplectic about. That was when there was supposed to be a nuclear bomb dropped on Charleston. Yes, that was on the 7th of October. Instead, what happened was there was the bomb was detonated 600 miles off the coast. And our friend Putin, he intercepted the military cables showing that that bomb went off. There's seismograph records, there's eyewitness accounts of how the Air Force convey of this nuclear device landed in the base in Charleston. And the 2 heroes that detonated that device in the ocean as opposed to on the citizens of Charleston, they were fired for their efforts. Yeah, and the Inspector General of the Department of Defense, I wrote him 2 weeks after those illegal firings. And I said, you know that those firings were illegal, that the grounds were absolutely not supported for their discharge. And besides which, you said that you were firing them for something that happened 6 months ago, as opposed to what happened when the bomb was detonated off the coast of Charleston. You better reinstate those heroes. That's John T. Reimer. Well, he didn't. So if you've got the Inspector General who's going to allow you to be fired for no cause, and if you've got the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff who's going to...
Yeah, you most definitely can catch some more of this information. I'm going to have both of these videos actually linked at the bottom of my video family. I don't want to actually keep you guys no longer than I necessarily have to. I just wanted to bring some great information for you to be able to hold on to. Something that will get your mind moving and give you the insight or the inspiration to make the necessary acquisition to come together so that we can put something together, man. Like reach out, link up, let's go. Like, I mean, you know, I'm accepting All emails at iamjackchrist@gmail.com. That's IAMJAKKCHRIST@gmail.com. So, like I say, just reach out, link up, and let's talk. Let's get it together. There's a lot more things that can be done, a lot of things that we can be doing. These people understand the times and the situation that we're moving forward to, and they're going to do everything that they can to stunt, stagnate, or prevent these things from happening or taking place. Well, together we will be able to stand, and divided we will always still be at the position that we're in right now. Wholeness and balanced vibration to everybody. I love you. And you guys take it easy.